I don't know whether you've seen this story. A Royal Air Force recruitment chief refused orders to prioritise women and ethnic minorities over white men because she believed it was illegal. These according to leaked documents that have been obtained, I think, by Sky News. A copy of the leaked email showed the group captain telling her boss that she thought allocating slots on RAF training courses based only on gender or ethnicity was unlawful. Armed Forces Minister James Heappey was asked about this issue over the weekend. He attempted to explain what has gone on and why there has been what he describes as confusion over this story.
So successful at the moment is Royal Air Force recruiting. Courses to commence basic training were being fully loaded 6, 9, 12 months in advance. And there was a concern in Q1 of this financial year, so April to June, that the consequence of that was that courses were being loaded with in a way that didn't look like it would meet the RAF's ambitions for women and BAME this year. And so what the Chief of the Air Staff asked his team to do is to pause course loading beyond the first 50%, not in order to straight away start to prioritise any other group, but to give him and his leadership team the opportunity to look at what would be legal and practicable in terms of positive action.
The Armed Forces Minister James Heappey. Tim Davies joins us, former fighter pilot, spent 20 years in the RAF and the Royal Navy, now runs aviation consultancy Fast Jet Performance. Thank you for coming on the programme. I wonder what you make of this story of the refusal to prioritise women and ethnic minorities over white men.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's good to be here. It's good to speak to you. It's a very serious thing, actually. In the country, we should be very concerned about what's happening with the Royal Air Force, especially at the moment under the current Chief of Air Staff, Mike Wigston. The issue being that you have discrimination within one of our primary defence services. Now, if we can discriminate, the discrimination is against the ethnic majority, which happens to be white people, but against men specifically, because, of course, the target, the quotas that the Air Force were trying to fill was for ethnic minorities. I don't use the term BAME because it's divisive, and women. They were trying to get more ethnic minorities than women. That was a government target that was set. The Air Force then said, well, we're going to try and do this. The Navy and the Army don't have these same kind of issues with the Air Force because the Army tends to recruit from the Commonwealth, as we know, especially with Gurkha regiments and things like that. And, of course, the Navy also does from the Commonwealth recruits. They have a higher number of ethnic minorities within them. However, the Royal Air Force does have a high number of women, but it's only 2.5% of minorities that are in the Air Force at the moment. So what it's done, it said, well, let's stop white men joining because we can't get enough ethnic minorities or women to join. So we just pause the white men joining. We won't actually look at their application at the moment, which is discrimination under the Equality Act 2010, and we'll just push forward all the minorities. And what actually happened, and what this woman was asked to do, a lovely woman, Group Captain Elizabeth Nicole, significant amount of integrity, which you'd expect for someone in Her Majesty's Royal Air Force, of course. She's displayed this, and she's refused to follow what is, in effect, an illegal order from the Chief of Air Staff. And that comes down through Air Vice Marshal Maria Byford, who's head of personnel. And then, of course, she said, no, I can't do this. I cannot. I wouldn't do it if it was a minority. I wouldn't do it if I was told to do it against women. And you're asking me to do it against white men. And a lot of those young white men, and black men, of course, I've helped, and women, to try and get into the service. And I've sent them to the Royal Navy, to be fair, because at least the Royal Navy is fair, is open, it looks at merit, it doesn't look at your skin colour, it doesn't look at your gender, it just wants the best people for the job, and that is not what the Royal Air Force is doing today.
In the description of what's happened by the Armed Forces Minister, he says, as far as I can tell, that the courses that were offered were basically oversubscribed, and so they needed to pause recruitment on that in order to fulfil the target they set themselves of women and ethnic minorities. The question I've got, Tim, and I wonder how much you can answer this given your experience, is why were those people recruited in the first place for those courses? On what merit? Presumably they weren't recruited on the merit that they were white men.
No, absolutely, God, no. And this is the thing. What you need to do is, this is the whole problem with diversity and inclusivity. It has very little to do with race and gender. Everything to do with the values and standards that you portray. If you put out in the Royal Air Force that these are our values, these are our standards, the right people will come to you. What the Royal Air Force is trying to do is positive action, which is legal and we all agree with, put ethnic minorities and women in front of the camera and it says, look, rightly say, we have the whole of the United Kingdom can join the military. Look, we have people here. We have women flying airplanes. I know this. I trained all of them. We have ethnic minorities. I know this. I trained all of them again to fly fast jets. There is no difference in people. They will all die in exactly the same way in military fast jet aircraft. They would just be killed if they're not good enough. This is the issue. It's nothing to do with skin colour, nothing to do with their gender or their sex. I'm a little bit gender critical myself, to be fair. However, the issue being that they've gone out and they've repressed the applications from white men, young white men who've done nothing wrong apart from be born in a white body and happen to be men. So unfortunately, we've got this ridiculous situation now where, unfortunately, the head of recruitment and selection has stepped down, and because you can't fill the quotas they wanted, they put all of the ethnic minorities in the holding pool that they had during COVID. Through at one time, they ran out completely, and she was asked to recruit more, and she had none. There was no one there to recruit.
And so, Tim, if the quota can't be filled for whatever reason, the recruits that year just didn't make up the numbers to fill those quotas, what should happen to those organisations who don't fill those quotas?
Well, for a start, let's not have quotas. Let's just have the best people. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing that we're even talking about this. Who do you want when they operate on your heart when you've had a heart attack or you're having an aneurysm or something? You wouldn't want the person that was recruited because of the quota. You'd want the person that was the best person for the job. Isn't
the answer that you can have both? That you can say, listen, we think that to show our organisation is being open to absolutely everybody, we can have a quota of, say, 2.5, whatever it is. But if we don't reach that quota, we're there. We're open. We can accept people from anywhere and everywhere. It's just this year, for whatever reason, the applications didn't roll in from that part of the country or whatever. Not to try and force it, as has clearly happened here, as the leaked emails show, to the point where, as you say, this recruitment officer has resigned.
Look, this isn't a school. It's not IBM. This is the military. It engages and kills the enemy to protect the sovereign territory of the United Kingdom and its interests. It's not the same as recruiting for the post office. We're not trying to make up the makeup of the United Kingdom. The police service has to be representative of the population because they police with consent of the population. So the population says, we'd like a police service, please, and the police would do, I'm to all of you, police to all of you. But the military doesn't conform to the Equality Act of 2010 because it's ageist, it's disablist, it doesn't allow people with mental health problems in it. It's not the same as the population it serves, and that's where we're getting confusion over this whole issue. We just need some very, very competent people who are willing to do exceptional damage to other people in order to protect our interests and to keep the world safer. And this is why I don't understand why people keep talking about quotas. If you're let's pick a young black man or a Hindu, a Sikh, you look at the military and you think they have the same values that I have in my heart because I'm a British Sikh or a British Muslim. I really want to be part of that. And you join. Now, positive action helps you to see the fact that there's other people like you in there. But positive discrimination, which the service is doing, will make this considerably worse because you won't know whether you were hired because of your skin colour.
Right. Tim, really good to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed for your time and for your service. Former fighter pilot, spent 20 years in the RAF and the Royal Navy. His aviation consultancy is Fast Jet Performance.